Welcome to After Dark, the Simply Stogies once a month live show. It's our only 2 cigar show, 2 hours long. The reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated, obviously, because here I am back from my 5th time having COVID. Sorry I missed you guys last month for the anniversary, the birthday episode of Simply Stogies, but Tim and Lou and Jimmy and Sean and Brian, they did a fantastic job holding the fort down. So I want to thank you guys for showing up. This is a great show. We have a fantastic show lined up for you. Brooks Whittington from halfwheel.com is here. A good friend. This guy is just awesome. He's been on the show before, and I'm really excited that he's on now for the live tonight. We're going to talk everything Festival del Habano 2025. We're going to talk Cuba. We're going to talk Cuban cigars. And of course, we can't do that unless my good friend, co-host, Master Blender, because he's not on, he can't tell me not to say it, Nick Syris for LH Cigars. He's going to be joining us as well, co-host of Simply Stogies. And of course, we'll be joined by Tim. But before we get to everybody, including our LE Club members who are waiting in the wings to talk about nothing but Cuban cigars, let's talk about our sponsors. And this episode of After Dark is brought to you by smallbatchcigar.com. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. Use code Stogies. Get 10% off your order. 10% off almost anything, unless they've got an exemption on it, in your cart. That's smallbatchcigar.com. It's always free shipping. You're going to bonus 5% reward points as well. Andrew, Dave, and company over there at Small Batch, they know how to do it right. Not only is the shipping free, it's fast. Like, it's freaky fast. I don't know if I could say that because I think that might be copywritten or trademarked, so I'll take that back. Don't say that. But it's really fast. It's weirdly fast. Is that okay? Can I say weirdly? I think I'm going to just stick with weirdly. It's weirdly fast. It'll get to your house pretty quick. And not only that, but they know how to ship. They know how to ship things right. You're going to get these things, and you're just going to be like, you're trying to get into Fort Knox. It's amazing how well these things are packaged. They do a fantastic job. So go to smallbatchcigar.com, use coupon code Stogies, get that 10% off, that bonus 5% reward points. Use those reward points later on in the year. Get yourself something nice for Christmas, Thanksgiving, I don't know, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, whatever, Easter, I don't care. Just go to smallbatchcigar.com, use coupon code Stogies. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. This episode of After Dark is also brought to you by Lure Cigars. Lure Cigars, now available at smallbatchcigar.com. Go to smallbatchcigar.com, get them before they're out, because I'm just telling you, they're going to go fast. If they haven't gone already, they went live yesterday, guys. As I start to lose my voice, I promise. It's not COVID. You can't get it twice that quick. But go to smallbatchcigar.com, and now you can pick up Lure. I love it when sponsors become friends. That makes me happy. It does. It makes me very, very happy. And while you're there, check out the brand new Oscuro, the Little Joe and the Big Joe from lurecigars.com. This Oscuro features a slightly oily double Maduro dark brown Oscuro wrapper over a thick binder from Esteli and a selection of premium Nicaraguan filler tobaccos, including Ometepe Ligero. The strength of the cigar is full, and it is full throttle in flavor, baby. It's going to take you to Flavor Town. I don't know if I can say that either, but it did. Your palate will encounter notes of dark roast coffee, freshly tanned leather, dry cocoa, along with a bit of black peppercorn and dark spices on the finish. The cigar produces a thick blue smoke and a solid barrel of white ash. Go pick up the Big Joe or the Little Joe right now, smallbatchcigar.com. Smoke great cigars, tell tall tales, Lure Cigars. Yeah, so that's good. Let's start bringing some folks in, shall we? I'm gonna leave this up to the producer Tim to do this, but let's bring in Tim first. Like, you know, he's the host of Clear the Air. He's producer extraordinaire. His mic's muted. He thinks he's talking and he's not. Yep. That's the type of show this is, guys. This is live. Anything can happen. I mean, at least we're not in the wrong room tonight. That's fine. Go ahead and bring in Nick Syris, co-host of Simply Stogies. You guys know him. He's the owner of LH Cigars. I'll click the button. I'll bring him in. It's all right. I can do 2 things at once. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I think Tim's having a little breakdown there. I don't know.
I think he is. I mean, it's not as bad as it was when we recorded earlier this week, where we were in the complete wrong room.
Yeah, that's
in the wrong
first.
studio. But yeah, so Tim, we still can't hear him. It's fine. Let's bring in two of our LE Club members, and we'll bring in Brooks Whittington. We'll get down to business. But there's Shauna Bolin, Brian Bolin from Smoldering Cigar, Livermore, Iowa. Brian, Shauna, I know Shauna, you're not in state, but it's nice to see both of you. Great supporters of the show. We're excited to have you. Do your mics work?
Yeah, I think.
just our producers isn't working.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's just the producers it doesn't work. That makes sense. All right, so let's get down to business. Let me introduce from halfwheel.com, Brooks Whittington. Brooks, welcome to the show, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time on a Friday night to sit down with us and talk all things Cuba. How have you been? Because we haven't had you on, I don't think, for almost about a year. The last time we had you on, we talked Cuba. How you doing, buddy?
It has been a year. I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on, as always.
No, I'm really happy to have you on. We need to have you and Charlie on more often, because you guys are just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the industry and news in the industry and the goings on in and around. And this Festival del Habano it's a little different than, your typical PCA trade show or TPE or any kind of event that goes on throughout the year. It's much different. Obviously, it's focused on Cuban cigars, but it's just a whole different culture down there.
The whole experience is very different than something like PCA or TPE or even Intertobac, for that matter.
Yeah, it's just wild. So I can't wait to kind of dig into that. But what are we talking about here, guys? We're talking about events, right? And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my old Kentucky Herf. May 9th, 10th of this year. It's a 2-day event, Ashland, Kentucky, Fat Ash Cigar Lounge. Go to fatash.com/events. Get your tickets now. Dwight, in his infinite wisdom, has decided, like, look, I think this is due. But Dwight, he gave me a call. He's like, James, we're going to go ahead and extend that early bird ticket price for a while. And I said, well, Dwight, like, that's awesome. Like, that's great. We're giving people a deal. How long is that going to go? He's like, James, I don't know. It's going to go for a little bit. I don't know. It's to be determined. I was like, all right, Dwight, I appreciate that. That's the worst Dwight impression ever. But Dwight Atkins, Stephen Ray, they put on a great show every year, multi-vendor event, Ashland, Kentucky, foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I invite you guys to go. It's $225. That's the early bird ticket special. Like I said, it's just been extended. Get your pit pass. It's $100. You get all your cigars wrapped up. You don't have to go trick or treat. You get all your swag. You're going to get a Dickies, a Luciano branded Dickies button up. It's always a great time. They're great people. They make you feel like family. They really do. I can't stress that enough. It's such a great event. I hope to see you there. I'm going to be there. Tim's going to be there. Nick's going to be there. It's going to be a fantastic time. fatash.com/events. Get your tickets now. I hope to see you there. Let's go around the horn and just see what people brought to smoke, and then we'll clip the cigar, because you can't clip my wings, but you can clip the cigar. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. Nick, we'll start with you, since you're immediately on my right, and I saw you were getting ready to take a drink. So what are you smoking tonight, buddy?
Absolutely nothing. Not a thing, which is so rare. And the only way I am not smoking a cigar is I'm sick. And that is exactly, I got the curse of the Havana cold, starting with 3 years ago, coming back very, very ill with COVID. And then every year since, getting some sort of cold. And I was good. I thought I escaped it this year. And then yesterday I felt a little tickle in the back of the throat. And today I'm congested and just have to not smoke. So,
hey, at least it's not COVID.
Yeah. Well, let's knock on wood. This is only day one. This is only day one of my cold. I hope this doesn't last long, but yeah. So I'm smoking absolutely nothing.
All right. Well, I appreciate you showing up. I know you're under the weather. Tim, does your microphone? I don't even want to ask. Tim, does your mic work?
Nope.
No, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Oh my God!
He's playing a funny. He's doing a funny.
That
What
was
do you
good.
smoke? That was good. What do you
So
smoke?
I'm going to start off with a Dream Hunter there.
Oh, there you go. All right. Yeah. Look
See if
at
we can get
you.
that to come
Look at
in.
that
And
fan-
then
using that fancy camera we just bought.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah. And then Red Meat Lovers.
Ooh,
There it is. Takes just a second to focus. But yeah.
Nice.
That's
Well,
what I
welcome
got
to the
going
show,
on today.
Tim. Good
Yeah,
to see
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
I'm glad you're smoking a Cuban. That's fantastic. You knew it was a Cuban show. And
I actually have 0 in my humidor.
that sounds like
so-
a you problem, not a me problem.
No.
Brian Bolin, Livermore, Iowa, smoldering cigar. My friend, what are you smoking tonight, buddy?
Well, the first one I'm going to smoke from Martinez is the Patamoronio.
Sure.
And then the second one, the Nicolas.
Oh, look at you sucking up to Nick. I really wish.
points.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just trying to get points with Nick is all you're trying to do. I get it.
Yeah,
I
there you
get it.
go.
Shauna, I already know what you're smoking, but I'll ask anyway. What are you smoking?
I'm smoking a Definition cigar by Definition Cigars. It's
Thanks. It's the Newark, Connecticut. I looked it up
Thank you,
for you
Newark,
earlier.
Connecticut.
You're welcome.
They're right here in Texas.
Right there in Texas. Brooks, have you ever heard of Definition Cigars?
I have, yes. They are here in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it.
Close to it. What are you smoking tonight, Brooks?
Well, I don't want to look like a douche, but I decided to.
Too late. No, I'm kidding.
No, you're on the.
I decided to light up the Behike 58 that I got at the festival. I don't normally smoke, cigars like this on my own time, and so I thought it'd be the perfect cigar to smoke for this event for 2 hours.
Brooks, you're already classing the joint up, and now you've blown everybody out of the water. I
usually these. I'm sorry.
Not all of us have Cubans.
Well, that's
True.
again. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem.
I'm just saying.
Usually these cigars that I get from the festival just go into a bag and go into my Herfador or whatever, and I forget about them. So
you're not. You're not the biggest Cuban fan, if I remember right. Are you, Brooks?
I like certain. I like certain brands. I love Boulevard. I love Partagas. Some Cohiba, smaller ring gauge Cohibas, typically. But I'm a big fan of Nicaragua and Honduras. I just love cigars. So
yeah, no, that's the diplomatic answer right there. I just love cigars, and the best cigar is the one that's in my mouth. I know nobody asked. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. I am smoking the Boulevard Libertador. This is 2018, I believe. I don't have the box code in front of me, but before I can cut the cigar, I got to remind myself, you can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. Blackbird Cigar Company, home of the Crow Box Press. Go get that limited edition. Only a couple thousand boxes made of the Crow Box Press. It is a San Andreas wrapper over Nicaragua binder and fillers. Check it out. You can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to light their cigars before I light mine. But Brooks, you're the guest, and I really want to pick your brain. We had you on last year on the show proper, and I apologize. I really wanted to make this a show proper. There were just several mitigating circumstances that prohibited that. But I want to know your thoughts on what was different just in Cuba overall from last year to this year and kind of what you saw.
Well, in terms of Cuba itself, now remember, for the most part, we stick with, or at least I do, I stick to Havana, which is the large city there, the capital city there. And so I don't know for the most part what's going on in the greater country. We did go to the fields one day, which is very nice. But in Havana, there's definitely some differences. The biggest difference is just this massive issue with power and electricity. We had blackouts ranging from 15 minutes to about 6 hours, depending on the day. Of blackout from every in the entire city that I saw, at least. And that was not the case last year. There were a couple of blackouts last year, I believe, but nothing like this. It was very significant in terms of how it affected the people and the everybody there. There was no blackout that I saw at the actual events or anything of that nature. Nick, you can back me up on that. But in terms of just the general day when you're going by and you think, oh, the place I'm staying at doesn't have power now and they have to go on the generator and that kind of thing. So that's a huge difference between last year and this year for sure.
I know you mentioned that in one of your articles, and I would invite everybody to go to halfoil.com and read the articles. You did something every day. And your pictures are always on point. Like your pictures are just great.
Thank you.
So guys, go check it out. But you mentioned the power problem in your article, and now you mentioned it here. So it makes me think that it's a much bigger deal this year than it was last year. You said it was a couple times, but this year it was a lot. And normally, don't they try to keep like the problems of Cuba and poverty and all of that stuff separate from the festival? And it sounds like this year they weren't able to pull that off. Is that a fair assessment?
Again, I don't believe that they had a problem at any of the actual events for the actual festival. But certainly anybody who was staying there would be able to tell that it was a bigger issue. Habanos is they try to put on this huge event, and they certainly don't want to bring people out of the bubble that they are going to be in during the event. And so as little interruptions as possible is what they're going for. And I think they nailed that for the most part. Most of the blackouts were around the festival and not necessarily during the festival, the main events of the festival themselves.
Okay.
Also the hotels, they have generators. So I was staying at a hotel and I didn't see if there was any blackouts. The generator kicked on very quickly. The other thing, Brooks, that you could add to the thing that was really the most impactful for me is from the second I landed and we were driving into Havana. I mean, the lines for gasoline have been long, but now they, from what I was told, go 24 hours. And the lines are so long to just get gas, and it's rationed. And that's the hardest thing to say. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's definitely, I mean, there were lines last year, but yet, like you said, the lines were longer and certainly more obvious. Also, something else that I just thought about, the fact that U.S. dollars was actually taken pretty much everywhere this year. Whereas last year, sure, they took it, but, we kind of went back and forth. I went back and forth with some euros and that kind of thing. But for the most part, U.S. dollars were taken just about everywhere that I tried. And they preferred U.S. dollars at this point. That I went to.
Preference now, instead of they want U.S. dollars.
Yeah, within the last year, the government made a switch. I guess originally they were just going with euros, but I don't remember how long ago. It was like 4 or 5 months where they officially were accepting U.S. dollars. And like Brooks said, they're almost they prefer it, and I think the people there prefer it. So, but again, it's still eroding their own currency, their CUP, their coup. If anybody knows about what's happened in the last 5 years with their change of currency. So last year it was like
I know it's a cluster.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
So it started off where it was 24 CUP to $1. And then the off rate, the street rate, so to speak, was about 100, 110. It kept climbing. So the government tried to stop that by going to 100 for the official rate, which, ended up landing at 110, 120. But now the unofficial rate, and I'm not, letting anything out of the bag here. There's apps that exist that you could follow it almost like a ticker tape and see how many the value of the CUP is. And the official rate as of when I was there last week was 340 to 1. So it keeps eroding.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, I mean, I would imagine that made it easier for you to this year than paying the dollar.
I don't know if that's easier. Let's put it this way. Going to dinner, you literally have to carry around a backpack of money. When you have a table of 6 or 7 people, and I'm talking stacks of dollars, I mean, of these coupes, and they need machines, those money counting machines at every restaurant to count, because it's just so many bills. I mean, think about it. It's insane. So that doesn't make it easier. Nobody wants to carry around a backpack.
No, but I mean, if they were accepting American dollars this year, that had to have made it easier, right?
Well, yes, but if you're smart, you're not going to pay at places that accept CUP in USD, because your rate, you would be getting it at 120 versus 340. So most people there know that, and I'm not talking just Americans. Every tourist there tries to use CUP where it's accepted, and that's mainly only at government places. The private places kind of did, but everything it's better to use the CUP. The only other thing that I noticed that I definitely felt, I mean, I'd heard about it, and people that had left. I have to say that since I was going there regularly, 80 to 85% of the people that I knew in Cuba are not in Cuba anymore. And they're always telling me what's going on there, because they're always tied in more than just the news that's being reported. But I kept reading about how crime, and people are telling me, be careful, don't wear your expensive watches, be careful on the street. And I'm like, it's so hard for me to understand that, because you have to, for the amount of years that I've been going there, and I felt you could drop me in the worst neighborhood in all of Havana at 3 a.m. on a dark street, and I would not be at all afraid. And it was just one of the safest places that I'd ever been to. And nothing happened to me this time. A couple of people that I know, yes, somebody had their phone swiped, they ran, grabbed it, and the police were, the person there was accusing the police to be involved because they didn't do anything and they watched it. And then they called their phone number and negotiated to pay $500 to get their phone back. So some sort of robbery, I guess you could say burglary. But yeah, the crime, I did notice the eyes on you a little bit more. People were watching. There were a lot more begging going on, more harassment in that way. But you have to understand, these people are really hurting right now. Financially, they're doing whatever they can to survive, and it can definitely be felt by tourists.
Yeah. Brooks, did you kind of see the same thing and hear the same things when it came to crime? And
I had heard that crime was up. I didn't see it. And again, now when I'm not walking around at 3 o'clock in the morning for the most part.
No, me either.
In Havana,
I didn't say I was. I just said I could.
I agree with Nick 100%. I'd rather be in Havana, from what I know. I've been there a decade, once a year for a decade. I'd rather be in Havana at 3 a.m. than Dallas right outside my door, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anything since I've ever been there that would lead me to believe that there's a huge amount of crime. There's murders in Dallas every single day. So, take it for what you will. But I certainly don't. I didn't see anything. The people are, as Nick said, the people are hurting. The people are definitely they're definitely trying to find any way they can to make a living, to get money, and it's definitely something you can sense. But in terms of being afraid for my life or anything, no, I absolutely not. That's not.
Well,
not a thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. I mean, you would hope that they would, it's Havana. It's a big city. I mean, so the city I live in, Cedar Rapids, is the 127th largest city in the United States. So it's not like the smallest city, and it's obviously not the biggest city, but we have a lot of crime. There were just this week, there were 3 murders, which is kind of wild because that usually never happens. So I would imagine Havana would have a similar kind of crime rate to.
No. There's no guns. There's no guns on the street.
The government doesn't allow them to have guns, and so.
No one's.
You might get a knife pulled on you, or something. But no guns. Not that I've seen it or know anybody that's happened to. But yeah.
And even if they did, I can't imagine that they'd want to hurt you. They're just, again, they're desperate.
They just want money,
and they just want something to sell or some money or whatever. And I imagine if you gave them something, they would go on their way.
Well, you've been doing this. You've been going down there for 10 years now, Brooks.
Yes.
This is your like the 10th anniversary of it. I have a couple questions around that. The first would be, what's the biggest difference between that you've seen in Cuba in the last 10 years, from your first trip to the most recent trip? What's the biggest where you're like, when you really think about it, you look back and you're like, wow, that's changed, and maybe not for the better, or maybe it is a better change. Like, what are some of the changes maybe you've seen over the last 10 years in Cuba?
The attitude of the people is really noticeably worse. Not in terms of being mean or anything like that. Just it's very obvious that they are very, very desperate. And when I first started going to Cuba, I would go, take photographs in the slums and the less advantaged areas.
Yeah.
And I would have no problems, and I wouldn't feel, out of place or anything of that nature. I've stopped doing that for the most part. It's not that I feel that I am in danger. It's just it feels like that. It feels like that me taking photographs of people like this it's now taking advantage of them as opposed to trying to document them. And now that's a personal thing for me, obviously, but it's a situation where you can tell from the 10 years ago and now it's a massive difference in just how they feel and how people are projecting their emotions, and they're more guarded. They're less open. They don't smile as much. I don't see people smiling as much. And this all comes from, being obviously from their situation it's a horrible situation to live in every day. And it just continues to get worse. And so it's obviously going to have an impact on how they're feeling and how they're acting as well. But it's a massive difference. And I'm sure Nick has something to say about that, but I just, it's something that it's very difficult for me. It's very, it affects me quite a bit more than I would have ever thought. If you had told me that, 10 years ago, oh, you're going to be affected, in a major way.
Yeah.
Coming back from this, I would have probably laughed in your face. And it's true. It's definitely, instead of being happy about all of the things that I've done there and all the work that I put in, I come back depressed and morose, and not, it takes me a little while to get over it, for sure.
I can understand that. I'm trying to phrase this question in a very diplomatic way. Do you think everybody else from different areas of the world goes back with that same feeling? Because listening to you describe that difference in the last 10 years just kind of makes me think that hope for the Cuban people in their minds is dying. They're just like, this is our lot in life. It ain't going to get any better. We're going to have to claw and scratch to just kind of get by. Does the rest of the world see that, or is this a vacation for them? Because honestly, politics aside, the United States I think we're the only country that still has an embargo on Cuba. Everyone else trades with them. We don't. There's a lot of politics behind it. It doesn't really matter. But everybody else treats Cuba kind of like it's Jamaica, right? Like, we're going to go to the island. It's going to be a good time. We're going to smoke cigars. We're going to drink rum. It's going to be fantastic. Do they see that, Brooks? Do you get a sense from other journalists and guests that are there that they see it and they're like, yeah, this will affect me when I get home too?
Certainly there are some. I think that as with anything, there's going to be people who are more attuned and more empathetic, and some who aren't. I think that it's a situation where people are going to this place with expectations, and maybe their expectations are exactly what they come up back with, right? My expectation is that I'm going to document things, and I'm going to see what I can. And obviously the festival is mostly why I'm there. I like to get out of there. I like to move around and get a little bit more of the people aspect, right? The public, when I can. They may not, and they may not care, and that's fine. I would be willing to bet that there are some who have that same feeling, and there are some who are able to, life is life, and there's always going to be poor people, and there's always going to be rich people, and that's the way that it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that that's a hard pill for me to swallow. I guess I kind of just have a little more faith in humanity, but there are people like that, and
Oh, I have no faith in humanity.
I'm quickly losing it. Nick, you've said that the same thing he has several times on the show. When we did the Cuban sub series a couple years ago, we really kind of dug into Cuba. Like what was the name of the book you were going to write? If you were going to write a book about Cuba, it was going to be titled something. Do you remember? You're muted, buddy.
Yeah, I have to because I'm coughing so much.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I work to steal, and that just described on day one of my trip there that basically everybody in Cuba figures out a way to make money, and it's not from the official salaries. But getting back to the question that Brooks was that you asked Brooks about other countries, well, 70% of tourism came from Canada, and even Canada has issued a travel advisory, and it's a noticeable effect. I mean, Varadero, which is the popular resort town about 2 hours away from Havana, is where they have all these resorts, and they are going like they're not filled. And they used to fill these things up with Canadians, but now the Cuban government issuing a travel advisory and basically just says to exercise a high degree of caution. That was the wording that they used in their official advisory. But the reasons they cited was, due to the shortage of basic necessities such as food, medicine, and fuel, which kind of we've known, but Americans know it. And I think it's sad because other countries are also now starting to back off. When you're not sure you're going to have power, not sure if you're going to have enough food, all of a sudden maybe you don't want to go vacation there unless you're Russian. And something I learned this trip that I never knew this before. I don't know if anybody else is interested, but I just found out that the only people of Russian citizenship that can leave the country domestically for vacation, if you work for the government or any high level job, the only country you can visit is Cuba, nowhere else, and that's for like life. So I was like, serious. Now, if you don't work for the government, and if you're not, one of these people that are deemed whatever, yeah, you can go. But so Russians travel regularly, so they're really, in support of the Russians and the Russian support there. So I thought that was kind of an interesting fact because I didn't know that. I learned a lot about Russians this trip, which I don't know if I needed to know, but it was, but that's something else that I learned.
It's a weird thing to pick up on a trip to Cuba as you start.
Well, when you're talking to Russians, like, I mean, have you ever spoken to a Russian that lives in Russia? I mean,
actually,
to me,
my cousin married a Russian.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I never have, and the stuff I learned. I mean, stories that were told to me. I mean, amazing. It's like wow. But the only other thing that I can say, and Brooks is 100% right. It went for, and I've been there, probably traveling there about a decade before Brooks, and about 2016 when the Obama changes, man, that place got nice. All of a sudden, the people were friendly. They're wearing American flags on their backs. They're talking to Americans. Things were looking like they were going in the right direction in that country. And you could see it among the people's hopes. And to see it take a nosedive in the last few years, it's really sad because, again, I believe that if you were anybody in Cuba that had any means to get out of there, if you had money, if you could buy, steal, cheat, hook, whatever you had to do to get out of Cuba, they've done it. The only people that are still there are people that are comfortable and are living a comfortable life, and they just don't want or don't care about the hustle and bustle or have ambition to. They're just comfortable. And I know people that are still there, and they're like, I go, why are you here? Like, we're comfortable. Either you're very comfortable or have enough money where you don't care, you go back and forth already, or you just don't have enough money to get out. I mean, if you think about 1.5 million people have already, left in the last few years, that's a lot of people. That's the whole population of Havana.
Yeah,
But
like a whole city just
wh-
got up and left.
the only positive thing that I can say, and for me it was a big thing because I couldn't get on the internet. There was no internet whatsoever forever. And then when it started changing and they actually opened up Pandora's box, having internet access there is a world of difference. I mean, I remember many nights sitting again at 2 a.m. that Brooks doesn't go out at 2, but I had to in the hotels because that's the only time I could get internet that nobody else was on. And then it was still like dial up to send one email. So it was bad. But now for not a lot of money, you can get a local SIM card and load it up, and you have pretty decent internet access.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a dangerous thing for them to have, I think. But I mean, it's a good
Well, I
thing
think
for them to
it's
have.
hurt them. It's hurt them. But once the cat's out of the bag, I did notice this time that none of my VPNs were working, and that affected me.
Yeah.
So before I had the VPNs working, and that was yeah. I have to get new systems.
I want to get to how attitudes have changed. Both like you've already kind of touched on it, Brooks. The attitudes in Cuba are certainly changing internally as far as maybe feeling hope is dead or dying.
And again, this is just from my perspective. Understand, I'm no Cuban expert when it comes to the Cuban populace or anything of that.
Oh
nature.
yeah, I'm not an expert when it comes to anything, Brooks. So, but you're definitely more of an expert on that than I am. You've interacted with more Cubans on Cuban soil than I have. Anybody else here has, except for maybe Nick. Except Nick, yeah. But I want to get to how attitudes in the U.S. have changed towards Cuba, even in just the last, I'll call it 8 years. I think it's been a wild shift, even in the cigar community. I think it's been a wild shift. I think part of that's due to what Habanos SA has done, but we'll get to that. I want to talk about the events of the week. What were some of the highlights for you, Brooks? And then, because I know Nick didn't go to a whole lot of events during the week. He went to the gala, but Nick was off doing his own thing and seeing people he knew in Cuba and having fun. But Brooks, you went to the events, you covered them. What did you see that was interesting? What about the new cigars? And while you're telling us about some of this, I'm going to play a video, Brooks, that'll show some of the new products.
Well, the first night, the Monday night event was at the yes, I'm gonna forget that. One of the places they normally have it at.
It was the Cubana Protocol Hall.
Yeah, the protocol room, right? And so it was fairly normal. It's not an unusual thing at all. Unfortunately, it had rained all day before the day of, and I have a feeling that kind of had an impact on how they decided they were going to have that event. The Monday event was not a great event when it comes to how it was laid out or anything of that nature. There were no seats, there were no chairs. It was just basically a big room that people were crowded into. It was not great. And again, I have a feeling that's because of the rain. The Wednesday night event was at the Capitol, which I had never actually been into before. And I was told that this was the first time that they've ever had a sit-down dinner for a Habanos event at the Capitol. And like, it's been 20 years since they had a festival event at the Capitol at all. Wow. It was a massive, just a huge, I've never seen anything like the inside of that Capitol. I think I described it as Vegas, Las Vegas on cocaine. It's got a 50
in Cuba.
Yes, wow. It's got a 50-foot statue in the middle of it, gold statue covered in 22 karat gold. It is massive, and it is just I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. Maybe new.
Well, they just renovated the Capitol for the last few years. Inside and out.
And it looks like it. It is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous location, and it was one of the best events that I've been to be honest with you. There was a wonderful chef there that they brought in, and the food was excellent. The food was amazing, and the whole event was just really, really great. That's where they introduced the Magnum 50, the H. Upmann Grand Reserva.
Ah.
And then Friday night was the gala dinner, which is at the normal place, the Pab Expo, Pab Expo, and it's a normal, the normal thing. They have the huge stage, and everybody comes in and smokes and laughs except for me because I was stuck at my chair. So everybody got to go around and talk and have a good time.
Wait. Let's go back very quickly, Brooks. Why were you stuck in your chair?
I don't know. Is the answer. There are very few journalists who are allowed to sit at tables, and I was thankfully I was one of those. I got the impression that they don't like the president was there, the president of Cuba, and I got the impression they didn't want somebody with big, very large cameras running around taking pictures. I wasn't going to take a picture of him anyway, but they don't know that. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's fine. I wanted to shoot some of the stuff that it was happening, but it wasn't a deal breaker for me. And I was able to get the important thing, which was they allowed me in early, thankfully, to get the photographs of the humidors for the humidor auction, because we did that. We posted the results live as they were happening. And so I was able to get pictures of those, get those photographs fixed while, at my table while I'm at my computer. And they're trying to give me food, and I'm like, just, whatever. And we were able to get those pictures up and get that done. So that was really the important thing. And they thankfully they allowed me to do that and had no issues with that whatsoever. So it's just one of those things. When the president is there, I've been told to stay in my seat, and I do what I'm told in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think I would too. If they don't get up, gringo. All right, you got it. Whatever. I'll stay right here, buddy.
If I can add to that, Brooks is right about the first night. Basically, that was their plan B. They were expecting it to rain. So normally in the same venue, they would allow us to walk down those staircase where it's like that big open area, and it would have been a lot more open. So
there's a huge pool down there, and there's like multiple levels and all that. So, and
that was all closed off limits because they never set up down there. So literally, first of all, I would think there was at least 20% more people than should have been allowed in because there's just such a demand for the tickets. So, and then they put you in the inside room, and it was packed. And then the lights went off. You really couldn't see the stage because it's all on the same level. Then they locked the doors because the reason why I know they locked the doors because people wanted to get out because it was hot and just so packed, and the doors were locked for at least a little while until they decided to unlock them. And then you went out to a little open area. There was a buffet, but again, no place to even stand to eat, much less there's no sitting. So wasn't the greatest. There have been better opening nights.
I'll say that if that was the case, that they had the problem with the rain, and that was their plan B. Yes. I think they probably did a pretty good job considering, right? They had a lot of people who were there. They had a lot of people who had to be put somewhere, and I think they probably did a really good job considering. If that was what they wanted to do to begin with, then that's horrible in every conceivable way.
No, that was because of the rain.
That was the case because they all of their events have been really well put on for the most part, and this was obviously a different situation. So I think that was probably the case.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, it was absolutely the case. That's why they had the whole side blocked off. And it was also the first time that I was told that they used a private chef, and the chef came from the oldest and pretty much the best restaurant in Havana called La Guarida. It's been there since the 90s. It's a very famous spot. Everybody kind of gets there. Fantastic food. And the chef there basically catered the event for the middle event, the Wednesday night event at the Capitol. And it was very beautiful. The building is like they sandblasted it for years on the outside. They made it look really nice. The inside, they renovated it. And it's designed to be like a copy of, they say, I don't know, like a copy of the Capitol. If you see pictures of it, you see it does look a little bit like the U.S. Capitol, I would say. So yeah, it's a copy of the Capitol, and it's beautiful, and everybody loved that event that went to that. And the gala, it was as good as it usually is. Lots of entertaining, and shows. I think if they're going to do this again with the president, the last 2 years the president was there, sat kind of with his security, but kind of unrestricted. This time, the whole hall, and it's very long, is kind of split in three. In the middle, behind ropes, were basically people from Asia Pacific territory and the president and his security. The problem is, in order to get around it, you had to go by the booth. It was like a very narrow lane. So, most people kind of stayed in their third. So you didn't get that walking around as much. And I guess, like Brooke said, it was kind of by design.
Well, yeah, I mean, this hall looks huge, and everyone's obviously dressed up. It's the gala. And then the video you took, Nick, that we showed earlier, which was, all of the new cigars or whatever.
Yeah, that was just at the trade show, and that was pretty much
even that looks super nice. When sometimes when I hear Cuba, I don't think of super modern and all it but from what Brooks is saying and what you're saying in the videos, like there's a lot of money being spent on this.
Look, there was an opening night event that they did with drones. And personally, it was the best drone event I'd ever seen. It was like, where they have a gazillion drones in the sky and they're synchronized and they do. That was amazing to see that in Cuba. I was like, whoa. And this is a country that doesn't allow anybody to bring drones in. I'll say that. You are not allowed to bring a drone into that country. And they had, I don't know how many of these things in the air. And that was a wonderful show. They do put on a good show. They have good acts. Earth, Wind, and Fire was the act. I don't know if Brooks took any video or pictures of Earth, Wind, and Fire, but that was the big celebrity. Yeah, that was the big celebrity band. And that was
look. They know what they're doing, and they are well aware of the fact that these people are paying a lot of money, and that they need to have a good experience. There's no doubt that they are very well versed in what they're doing, and they put on a show. It's an excellent show every year. The Monday night thing was a fluke. For the most part, when you go to these events, that you're going to have a good time, and there's going to be a lot of good cigars, and there's going to be a lot of good conversation and entertainment and that kind of thing. It's a very well run event in most aspects. There are problems, but that has to do with most likely other things. Like, for example, they didn't turn on the internet for half of the press conference while we were covering the press conference.
Hard to do a press conference without the internet, isn't it?
Or at least we had the wrong password or something. But this is all based on the country and the problems the country are going through, probably, and not necessarily because of the organizers of the event themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a very well organized event, and it looks amazing. I guess my question is this, because now we're kind of getting into the cigar aspect of all of this. So, I think I know where Nick stands. I think we've talked about it ad nauseum, just he and I, even away from the podcast. But Brooks, in your opinion, how much is what Habanos SA is doing with their cigars? How much is that affecting what the United States and the non-Cuban, the New World cigars are doing with their companies?
So Habanos has decided that it seems like Habanos has decided that they are going to they're going to go with a huge prices and limited availability for a lot of their cigars, and it seems to be working in terms of making them more money, at least on the short term. The problem that I think they're going to have with this, and they already have had, in my opinion, is that they're going to leave a opening where non-Cuban cigars can come in, especially in situations where other stores just don't have any Cuban cigars to sell. These stores around the world, they're not getting the amount that they need in order to sell, and even if they do, they're going to be prohibitively expensive for a number of people that are buying cigars that are used to having Cuban cigars at a lower price. And so people are going to come in and they're going to go, how much is this Cohiba Robusto? Oh, it's $75 or whatever it is. Okay, I'm not going to pay that. What else have you got? And they're going to say, well, we just got this, we just got this Plasencia in. It's not Cuban, but it's $20 or whatever it is. And they're like, okay, well, I guess I'll try it. There's a huge market, there's a huge opportunity for New World cigars to actually take away some of the market share that Habanos has around the world. And I don't believe that they've had that opportunity, and at least in this massive way before. And they're taking advantage of it. A lot of the non-Cuban brands are definitely sending more cigars to places around the world, retailers around the world, distributors around the world. And they're taking advantage of it for sure. They know that there's a market and that they can actually, start selling to somebody who maybe they can get some fans out there that used to smoke only Cubans that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think even in the United States, where you can't get Cubans legally, those attitudes are changing here as well. People who would normally try to procure them through various means are no longer doing so because it is prohibitively expensive. The secondary market is just absolutely wild when it comes to things like that new Behike, which, by the way, Brooks, how is that? Is that good? Are you enjoying that cigar? Because that's one of those cigars. I remember, people were talking about it when I first started smoking cigars 7-8 years ago, and they were like, "Oh, it's such a great cigar, but it's $100, $150, whatever it is." And now there's how many cigars on the market that are $100, $150, $300, $500. That was kind of like the progenitor of that, and now it just seems like they're racing out of control. You're smoking it now. What do you think of it? Is it good? Is it good enough for the price tag of what is it? $300 now for one? $400?
Probably 500 if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Nick, do you remember how much their MSRP is on those?
Well, on the 58, the one that
the new one, 58.
Brooks, they didn't really come out or didn't mention it, but it's going to be more than the 56, and the 56 is going for like $400 in certain markets. So I would imagine this could be $500-600 for this cigar.
We'll call it 500. Brooks, is it worth $500?
Look, no cigar is worth $500.
Thank you. God, I love you, Brooks. This is why I like you. Yeah, I agree. I look at it and I'm like, I don't know if a cigar is worth $100 in some cases.
No cigar is worth $100 either.
Yeah, no. There's been one $100 cigar that I've smoked that I was really enjoyed, and I was like, I'd pay $100 for that.
Maybe a Cuban Dunhill, maybe. But look,
ooh, there you go.
This is what we got at the dinner.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Gorgeous. So if you look at it, you open it up, and you've got all 4 of the Behikes here.
Tilt it up, Brooks.
Yeah, up a little
see
bit.
it.
All right, hold on.
Oh, man, he's opening it up.
I'm
trying to get all the
impatient.
BS out of it. That is just,
Oh, that's
wow.
pretty.
So this is what you get as part of the dinner here. They were selling extra boxes of these. So if you got a ticket to the event, you could buy an extra box of these. The total price for the 4 cigars in the box was $2,400.
Oh,
No thanks.
And I tell you what, the Chinese were clamoring to get those tickets.
Well, look, I mean, if I had the funds for it and I lived a lifestyle of a jet-setting, rich and famous playboy, I would absolutely do it. I would. Does that mean that my tastes have changed over the last 7 or 8 years? And Brooks, I would imagine your tastes have changed since you've been smoking cigars. But you could still enjoy. I can enjoy a good Cuban. I think if you get a great Cuban, there's nothing else like it on the planet. That's my personal opinion.
Charlie, my business partner, Charlie is fond of saying that when they want to do it correctly, when Cuba wants to make a good cigar, they make the best cigars in the world.
Yeah.
Whether that happens every time is a whole nother issue.
Yeah, we
could. They are absolutely capable of making the best cigar in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, I would agree. I really enjoy this Boulevard that I'm smoking right now, and this has been sitting for a number of years, which used to be the case. You had to do all the time. Doesn't seem like that's the case anymore with a lot of these Cuban cigars, but that's a discussion for another time. The event, leaving the event. This is where I kind of want to talk about attitudes changing here in the United States. And Brooks, I'm not sure what your experience was coming back into the country, but Nick, you had, let's call it, an interesting experience where you watched customs agents, U.S. customs agents, literally like dressed down people who were coming back into the country.
I wish I was one of these millennials that remembers to use their phone and video these things. This particular custom agent, and I know and the funny thing is, I spoke to Tim, one of our people that were there, Tim from Nicotine Reporter, that Brooks's roommate in Cuba, and I talked to him, and some of his friends went through the same guy. So I thought I was being smart to avoid Miami, and I flew back through Tampa. So I'm standing in line, and this particular customs agent, oh my God, he literally called everybody a communist, a terrorist. I mean, he was just terrible. He's like, it's illegal to go. Now, I saw what was going on, and I avoided him. I got out of that line, and I went to another line, and I encouraged my friend Jim Robinson, who was in the line, and a few other guys. I'm like, let's get out of this line. This guy is just bad news, because if he talks to me like that, I'm going to go at him, because he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. You shouldn't be talking like that. And, it's not illegal to go. So he was literally saying, it's illegal to be in Cuba. Why are you going to Cuba? Are you a communist? They're on the terrorist list. Does that mean you support terrorism? I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. And God forbid if you had something, So, yeah, he was bad. And it's the worst in all my visits. Now, I got out of the line. I got to a guy in a different line. He just asked me, what was your purpose there? I said, I was traveling under a journalistic visa. He said, have a nice day, and let me go. But I don't know if it's just this one guy or what the story was, but I'd never seen somebody so.
Yeah, but not everybody was traveling with a journalist.
No,
visa,
but there are, 10 categories that you can legally travel to Cuba. Yeah. And he was telling some of the people, I don't believe you. He's like, well, I'm here to do this or support for. He's like, I don't believe you. I was listening to this guy getting into these, and I'm like, well, you know what? This guy's bad news.
Yeah, one of the guys that we stayed with in Cuba was busted. Don't know if it's the same guy, but it certainly sounds like him.
His son was busted from that guy. Yeah.
And it was his first time in Cuba, his son's first time in Cuba, and he had everything taken away and all that. Of course, that's part of the process. Sometimes that happens. But apparently he was berated quite a bit. He told that he could go to jail if he went back to Cuba again, etc. And it's sad. It's unfortunate that this person took it upon themselves to lie about things like that, because it's not true. As long as you go legally, right? Yeah. But that's always an issue going through any of these things. I didn't go through Tampa. I went through Houston, and it worked out. It worked out well. They asked me, hey, what were you there for? And I was a journalist, and he goes, oh, well, you don't see many journalists coming from Cuba. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. And then I went into a tirade about my. He said, did you buy anything there while you were there? And I said, yeah, I bought a wooden turtle. I've got a tortoise at home, a 35-pound tortoise at home in my backyard, and so I bought a little wooden tortoise for my wife. And he said, that sounds great. Bored already, and said, welcome home, goodbye. So that was the end of that.
Nice. Yeah, it just seems to me that even in the cigar community, attitudes have changed over the last, like I said, 7 or 8 years. And I know under Obama, he had kind of softened the regulations, so to speak, and trying to make friends with Cuba. Then Trump comes in and changes that. And then Biden comes in and doesn't change it back, which was a little odd. And now...
Till the last week of his office, anyway.
Yeah, and now we're getting, you're a communist. Are you a communist? You went to Cuba. Are you a communist? You got to be a communist. You can't go there. It's illegal. It's just wild to me.
If you get your stuff taken, like you said, that kid had all of his stuff taken.
Yes.
Do you get it back because he went illegally?
No.
All those cigars
some of the customs agents actually destroy the cigars right in front of you. From what I've heard,
they did to the people that I knew.
But if it was legal for you to go and legal for you to bring it back, then isn't it illegal to destroy your property?
No, Sean.
According to the Hatch Act, which is the embargo, according to the Hatch Act, it is illegal for any American anywhere around the world, actually, to have a Cuban cigar, to smoke a Cuban cigar.
Come get me, I guess. I
thought we were able to bring so many back.
That used to be the case. Yeah, but not anymore.
They did change it for a short time, and that's no longer the case.
Yeah.
They went from one extreme to the other, Sean. There was a time where you could literally bring as much as you wanted back.
I knew that.
So what do you guys got to hide them or something in your suitcase, or how do you do that so they don't find them?
I wouldn't probably
they find
how
them.
you do it.
I'm not hiding.
We're not going to be talking about that here. No, we don't hide anything.
I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding anything. And if somebody asks me, then I tell them, yes, I you know, you don't lie to customs agents. That's not a smart idea. Nope. But you know, I put them in the checked baggage and let it go. Look, we're journalists. I'm a journalist there. I'm there legally. I'm you know, for
you're doing your job.
reasons. So, you know,
yeah, you're doing your job. I mean, and if you're sent to Cuba, you're sent to Cuba. You go through all the bureaucratic hoops that you've got to go through before you go.
Getting the journalist visa is not the same as a regular visa to go to Cuba. You have to go through the embassy in Washington. Yep. You have to send a whole bunch of documentation, a whole bunch of different stuff. Used to be you had to pick up, have to pick up the visa in person in Washington, D.C. Back 10 years ago. And now, thankfully, they mail it. That's very nice of them. And so it's not the same thing. We're vetted, you know, very, very differently than somebody who's just coming in to help the Cuban people or whatever it is that they decide that they want to put down on their visa. It's a very different process.
That's called
very official. Right. Very official process is what we have to go through.
It's the top of the hour, and I know Nick is under the weather, and I want to get him out of here. But Nick, before I let you go, like, what are like some of the things you would leave the people with, the people watching live and the people that'll watch later on, that you would want them to know about Festival del Habano 25?
I think this being, I've been to everyone since 2009, and you know, they get better in a lot of ways. The food about the same, except the one that they did in the middle with the chef from La Guarida. And so I think you'll probably see the food level get better. The cigars, the value, you know, they keeps going up every year. So this year the gala was a 1,500 euro ticket, but you got that $2,400 box. You got a little what was it, a DuPont lighter, and 5 cigars to smoke. So you got a total of 9 cigars and a lighter for 1,500 euros.
9 Cohiba cigars.
Yeah.
Which were very, absolutely, which were very pricey. And I think next year the price is only going to go up again. Next year will be another big year because it's the 60th anniversary. I think it'll be an interesting year for Cuba and U.S. relations with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and how he feels about it. So that'll be interesting to see. I think cigar aficionados love to go, and there were quite a number of Americans there as well. But it's always used to be, it's kind of probably still is, my favorite place to get together with cigar smokers from all over the world, all walks of life and all that. But we're talking different cultures. You know, I just met people from everywhere, and that's the memories are what it's about, and that's why I keep going back. I think I also love Cuban cigars. I really do. It's no secret about it. And the palate that was my first, you know, or what I smoked. I think, you know, it's whether Habanos is doing the right move with their higher price. Yeah, their profits are up. I think they said their profits are up 30%, or their business is up, you know, crazy amount. So obviously they're doing the right thing for them. So that's it, man. You know, Habanos is Habanos, and they're going to continue. And you know, we'll see what happens in the future. What'll happen in 5 years? Is this on the long term going to be the right plan of action, or is the market share they're giving up in other parts of the world going to ever come back to them? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Are you going to stick around, Brooks, for a little bit? We can keep talking. Yeah, all right. Yeah. So look, top of the hour.
I got half a cigar left. Come on,
nice, right? Like that. I lit up a big one too, so I'm not only halfway through, but we'll find out what everybody else is smoking. I want to thank Nick for joining us. Nick, you're not, under no obligation. Yeah. Go feel better, my man. Go
yeah, sleep. I For me, not being able to smoke, it's a big thing. So
Right,
I want this to happen as quickly as possible and get better. Brooks, great seeing you again. It was great hanging out with you, and we'll see you again next.
Thanks for all the help, buddy.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye.
All right, thanks, Nick. All right, top of the hour. This episode of Simply Stogies After Dark, our only live show once a month, first Friday of every month, is brought to you by smallbatchcigar.com. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. Use coupon code Stogies. Treat yourself. Sometimes you just got to treat yourself. I know we're talking Cuban cigars, and I know I'm smoking a Cuban, and my friend Brooks is smoking a Cuban. Nobody else is. Maybe Adam is. Maybe he is. I don't know. But treat yourself. Go treat yourself. They've got the new Avowed line there. They always look. Small Batch is on top of it. They always have the newest, the latest, the greatest. Go check it out. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. And speaking of smallbatchcigar.com, smallbatchcigar.com is now the home of Lure Cigars. That's right. You can now get your Lure cigars right there at smallbatchcigar.com. Now, look, I told you at the beginning of the program, you needed to go get them because they're selling out quick, including the new Big Lou and the Big Joe and the Little Joe. This is the Oscuro, brand new release, part of the core line for Lure cigars. The Oscuro features a slightly oily double Maduro, dark brown Oscuro wrapper over a thick binder from Esteli and a selection of premium Nicaraguan filler tobaccos, including Ometepe Ligero. The strength of this cigar is full, and it is full throttle on flavor too, baby. Your palate will encounter notes of dark roast coffee, freshly tanned leather, dry cocoa, and a bit of black peppercorn and dark spices on the finish. The cigar produces a thick blue smoke in a solid barrel of white ash. Lure cigars. Try the new Oscuro today, the Little Joe and the Big Joe. And again, go to smallbatchcigar.com and get those. Smoke great cigars and tell tall tales. Lure cigars. This episode is also brought to you by Mile Kentucky. Here we're talking about a Cuban event. Yeah, and guess what? Not all of us can go. Number one, it's prohibitively expensive. Number two, it's in Cuba. Number three, I don't want to deal with some jerk off customs agent who's like, you're a communist because you went there. You know where you don't have to deal with that? Ashland, Kentucky, Fat Ash Cigar Lounge, May 9th and 10th. You're going to get 20 plus premium cigars. You're going to get Luciano swag bag, Mile Kentucky Herf t-shirt. You're going to have access to exclusive deals, raffles, giveaways, food and beer vouchers, and more. They're going to feed you on Friday night. This is now a 2-day event. It's that big. They're going to feed you Friday night on that registration party, and you're going to be able to hobnob with folks like Luciano, folks like Nick Syris. I'll be there. That's not a selling point. I get that. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of principals there and blenders and people from in and around the industry that you're going to want to talk to that Friday night. And look, Dwight and Steven, they treat you like family. It's one of my favorite lounges in the entire country. And this is, bar none, without a doubt, my favorite event of the year. Mild Kentucky Herf, May 9th and 10th. Get your tickets now. Early bird tickets are still on sale, $225. Dwight has graciously expanded that. And you can get your pit pass for only $100. You don't have to stand in line. You don't have to do anything. You show up, you get your bag, you get your swag, and you buy cigars. And you smoke with your friends. And really, that's what this is all about. And that's why I love the guys at Fat Ash. It really is just about being a brother or sister of the Leaf. Fantastic people. I hope you join us May 9th and 10th. Mild Kentucky Herf. Top of the hour, a little bit past now, 10, 11 past. I know Brooks is still working on that Bahique. I'm still working on my Libertador. So let's go around the horn. Shauna, are you smoking anything different now, or what are you okay? What is that?
The Davidoff cigarillo.
Okay. Wow. You get classing the joint up a little bit with the Davidoff. All right, lady. I like that.
I went to a fantastic little lounge today down here in Austin.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll keep talking about Cubans a little bit, and then I'll ask you about the lounge, and you can give the lounge a plug if you want to give the lounge a plug.
It's a really cute lounge. I mean, it's almost as cute as mine.
Okay. Oh, we'll see. Brian, what are you smoking, buddy?
That Nicolas.
The Nicolas, attaboy. Yeah. Attaboy. Lou Cross, Lure Cigars, my friend. How you doing? Great supporter of the show. What are you smoking tonight while we do this?
I'm smoking the Domain Entropy, which is their broadleaf release that they just came out with a few weeks ago.
Yes, yeah, that's a pretty good cigar if I remember right. I do like that cigar. Welcome to the show. I didn't get a chance to say hi when you jumped in.
It's all right.
Guesticles is here as well. My friend, what are you smoking? Great support of the show, long time listener, first time caller. What are you smoking, buddy?
I was speaking with Lou earlier, and I am smoking a Lure Last Cast.
Ah, nice. And for those of you who don't know, he got that cigar because he is part of our LE Club. If you want to join the conversation, join the LE Club. $10 a month, $100 a year. Go to simplystogies.com. And he got that cigar when we did the launch event for, I think, did you get that cigar then, or did you buy the Last Cast? Doesn't matter. We gave away cigars. That's what we did. We gave it to our LE Club members for supporting us when we did the release party for the Mean Gene down in Florida. No, it was Bull Weevil.
Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah, thank you. Alabama. I mean, it's close enough to Florida. It was right there. What do you call it? LA? Lower Alabama?
Lower Alabama.
Lower Alabama. All right. Well, we're going to talk about Lower Florida. I mean, Cuba. Brooks, are you digging that Behike? I mean, is it good? I know you said it's not worth the money, but is it good? Are you liking it?
I do like it. Yeah. I prefer the 52. But it's definitely stronger than the other Vitolas on the line, as far as I can tell. And I was told it would be stronger. It's blended to be stronger.
Okay.
But I prefer the 52 just because it seems to have a little bit more of a punch of flavor that I enjoy as opposed to the strength.
That makes sense. Let me ask you this. I kind of touched on it earlier. And I really want to know, do you think that the price increases that we've been seeing in New World cigars here in the United States, which it's every year, and it's always been every year, right? It's every year, everyone, usually it's 10%, 15%, 20% on the high end. And sometimes it's not their whole line. Sometimes it's just some of their line, and people will cut other lines during that time of year as well. But we've been seeing a pretty steady price increase the last several years. Is that due in part because of what Cuba's done with their pricing and trying to make some of their cigars, as Nick says, the Birkin bags of cigars, and make them really the premier, the cream of the crop type of deal? And is that manufacturers looking at that going, well, if people are still buying Cuban cigars overseas, Americans will buy this, and we don't have to raise it that much. We can just keep raising prices. Plus, we're seeing $20 cigars, $25 cigars, $30, $50, $100, $300, $500 cigars now in the New World market. Is that a direct result of that, or is it just more the economics of the U.S., or is it like a little column A and a little column B?
I am not an economic expert, nor am I a manufacturer expert. I will tell you that the reason I would imagine that they are pricing some of these cigars at this price is because they're selling. And if they didn't sell, then they probably wouldn't make them and wouldn't sell them for that much money. There is a certain amount of panache for having a $100 cigar or a $500 cigar. Certainly, that's part of it as well. Marketing always comes into it. But if they released, if Davidoff released however many of the Oro Blancos and none of them sold, then I doubt that they would continue doing that after a certain point.
Yeah.
But if people stop buying them, then people, they would stop making them most likely. But the more that they buy these cigars, the $100 cigars, Saka came out with his unicorn at $100, and it sold out pretty quick.
Yeah.
That tells me that there's a market there for $100 cigars for him. The next one may be $200, and we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't sell, then go back down to $100. I mean, it's basic. I would imagine fairly basic economics in that regard. But this is a premium product, and people are going. There's always, as long as you have a line of prices, I think you have that panache to be able to put together a $100 cigar or a $200 cigar or whatever it is. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. It's free marketing, and somebody will buy it, I'm sure.
So you don't think there's a danger of the cigar industry pricing out folks out of the industry?
Oh, certainly there is. Certainly there is. But again, I would think that most of the companies that have these $20 cigars, for the most part, are going to have lower price options as well. so that they do have this line that anybody can choose from. The newer cigars coming out, especially cigars with celebrities and things of this nature, they're coming out of the gate with a brand new brand at $20 or $30. That could be problematic. It may not, depending on how good the marketing is, how good the cigar is. But you need to have I would imagine that companies want to have a stepping block. Okay, you like these cigars, let's move up a little bit and see, for your anniversary or something, maybe we can, you'll buy this $100 cigar for that, and go from there. Do I think that all the cigars are going to be $20 at some point? Maybe 20 years in the future, perhaps, but that's more inflation as well.
Yeah.
Getting into it as well. There's always going to be cheaper options. One of the cigars on our top 25 this year was a $5 cigar. There's always going to be good, cheap options if you look hard enough.
Out of all of the events that you go to, you and Charlie, I'll combine the two of you because I know you guys kind of split duties, right? So Pro Cigar, Puro Sabor, PCA, TPE, Intertobac, Festival del Habano. What's your favorite to go to? Do you really look forward to going to Cuba, or are you burned out on it at this point?
So Charlie made a decision fairly early on, a good one, I think, to have all of us go to the same festivals every year. So I've never been to Puro Sabor. I've never been to Pro Cigar. I've only been to Cuba and the Festival Habano. And we do that because we know the people, we know everybody, it becomes very, very easy for us to get in and out and know how things work. And so I would love to go to, Nicaragua or to Dominican Republic at some point, but am I getting sick of the festival? No, absolutely not. I'm not. Certainly it has become more, it's become more of it's become not necessarily more work, but it's become more, there's more hassle involved in it because of the way that things are there. But the press people treat us well, very well. Anything that we need, they pretty much take care of it, and they're wonderful at their jobs. And we feel every year we go, but we see the same people, and it's a wonderful time. I'm working my butt off, and most journalists there are. But in terms of getting sick of it, no, I would love to go back every year if I could, 100%.
Really? Okay. Isn't it a drain though? Like when you come back, you got that black cloud kind of hanging over your head. Like, yeah, it was a great event, but there's this huge dichotomy between what you see in the events that you're participating in. And then you leave those events and you go out in the city. And like you said, like it's hard from the human aspect of it.
The dichotomy is definitely a problem, but I worked as a photojournalist at major newspapers here in Dallas for almost a decade. I've seen lots of not great things, and it's a situation where I have a job to do, and that's my job. My job is not to cover the Cuban people. My job is to cover the festival.
Yeah, and you're not editorializing,
that's correct. I do a little bit of that, in my final post every year. But I want to make it clear that it's a situation where I just want people to realize that it's not all this glitz and glamour everywhere. There's more to it than just that. And that's really my only purpose in doing that, because I think that most people who are, they've never been to Cuba, obviously, and they don't know, maybe that this isn't the way that it is everywhere. Maybe they think it is. And, part of my job, I think, is to make sure that people understand that that there is a dichotomy there between the two without actually editorializing too much in that regard.
And I know in your last article this year for the festival, you had mentioned that you had the same driver that you had last year. And I remember reading the article last year, and you really, you kind of, you did as much as you could, like talked about him and his family, and but this year you kind of stayed away from that a little bit. Was that a conscious decision like you did show the human side of it and like made sure that people saw there was a dichotomy, but I kind of felt like it was a little, it wasn't as overt as it was last year, if that makes any sense.
I tried to, yes, I consciously tried to make sure that it wasn't as, I think perhaps I went a little too far last year in terms of editorializing, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't necessarily that overt this year. Okay. I think that there's a fine line there, and I think that I hit it pretty well this year.
You did,
and it does affect me. There's no doubt about that. I know these people. I've met their families. Some of these people, we've had dinner with their families, and it's a situation where every year we come to this place, we come in here, we spend our money, and we smoke our cigars, and then we leave, and they're left behind, and we get to come back here to, place where I don't have to worry about anything in terms of all of the basics that they don't get.
Toilet paper, yeah.
And it is depressing, but the way the world too. And we help when we can. We bring the stuff to them, 100 pounds of stuff to them to make sure that they give them what we can and do what we can. But we are limited in what we can do, and how much we can help in that situation. And again, my job is not to do that. My job is to cover the festival, and they allow us to do that, and they're very kind to allow us to actually come into the country and do it.
Absolutely. And that's going to be my next question. But before I get to that, I want to make sure that it's clear to people. What Brooks does and what any other journalist does that goes to Cuba, they have to walk a fine line. It really is a fine line that they have to walk. Because if they go too far editorially, that doesn't look good with the Cuban government. And they may not be invited back. And they're there to do a job. And that job is to cover the event. It's not to cover the humanitarian aspect of it.
Right. So I mean, look, if I was shooting for a newspaper, it'd be a very different situation.
Yeah.
My job would be very different, and my purpose being there would be very different. But I'm not. We're a cigar blog. We cover cigars, and this is one of the largest festivals in the world, and there's a lot of news that happens there, and we need to be a part of that because that's our job, is to cover the cigar industry, and that's why we're there, is to cover the cigar industry.
Yeah, and you guys are international. We're international. People listen to us from all over the world, and people read you guys and watch you guys from all over the world. So it is news, and it's cigar news,
Certainly.
And that's what you're there to cover. So I don't want you to think that I'm like trying to ask you gotcha questions. It's generally a curiosity from a journalistic perspective, because I think that, and we just had this conversation with Michael Knowles. What's the difference between journalists and media? And I think there is a difference. And I think what you and Charlie and Patrick do is journalism. What I do and what a lot of other people in this sphere do is media. We're cigar media. We're not necessarily journalists. We might regurgitate press releases every now and then, but we're an interview show. That's what we do. And then we have these people on once a month, and we all sit around and we herf and we have a good time, and it's a lot of fun, but we're media. We're not journalists. You and Charlie and Patrick, you guys are journalists. Yes, you review cigars, and yes, you talk about press releases, but you guys go and do things, and you cover events, and you cover the big events and the big milestones. You're the cigar blog of record. I even hate calling you a cigar blog. And when you said you're a cigar blog, I almost cringed, because I'm like, you guys are like, you're the cigar news of record. Like, you guys really take a snapshot at Half Wheel of the cigar industry on a daily basis, and you're leaving a record for those that come later, and it's a very detailed record. You guys do a great job of it, and I don't think you guys get enough credit in that regard for what you do. You guys, in my opinion, are more cigar journalists than you are cigar media.
Well, thank you for the kind words, first of all. But I agree with you that we definitely, I would consider myself a journalist, but still, certainly not the same as when I was shooting for newspapers. But in terms of what we do, it's a journalistic aspect. Our job is to break news and to tell people the news. Charlie, has built. Patrick and I and Charlie are all a major part of the site. But a lot of what the site does is based on his ideas and his thought process, we want it to be a place where people can come and actually read about the cigar industry. We want to cover everything that happens in the cigar industry, and that includes Cuban cigars, and that includes any number of other things. It doesn't help if you go to a place, a website that only covers half the industry. That's not really helpful. And so we really wanted to have a place where people can look at this site every day and be caught up with everything that happens on the site. And it's possible because our industry is so small. It's a fairly small industry when you get down to it. It is possible for us to do that. If it was any larger, you can't do that with any number of other industries because there's just so much going on. The craft beer industry, for example, there's beers being released at 800 different breweries every single day. You can't cover it like that. But the cigar industry is something small enough that we can actually do that.
Yeah, and excuse me again, Jesus, it's getting to be about that time, I guess. My voice just doesn't want to cooperate, but it's harder for those of us on the media side to cover Cuban cigars in a meaningful way outside of reviews. And what I mean by that is, like, Habanos SA is not going to give us an interview, right? Nick sat down with them while he was there for Festival del Habanos a couple of years ago. It was like a 10-minute interview. Like, they don't want to answer questions. Like, it's a different animal than it is, New World cigars. New World cigars, manufacturers want to come on podcasts and they want to sit down and they want to have interviews and they want to get their story out there and they want to be heard and they want to be seen. Habanos SA is very content doing what they're doing, raising prices and catering, in my opinion, to the Asian market, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's making them a ton of money right now. But it is, I think it's overall, I don't know how long they're going to be able to really continue that in a financially lucrative way. Do you see that? Thanks, Cookie, Jesus. Do you see that being? Do you see that being an issue down the road if they continue to cater to the Asian market as much as they are, that they're going to run into trouble when the Asian market maybe falters a little bit on buying the amount of cigars that they've been buying the last few years?
I will say that anytime you put the majority of your eggs in one basket, there is a possibility that basket gets overturned.
Is that gonna? It always comes back to this in my mind, and I don't think this will ever happen. But do you ever think, say, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, who knows what the future holds? The embargo goes away. Do you think Cuban cigars would make a dent in the U.S. market if the U.S. market was open to Cuban cigars?
I think that if the embargo ended and Cuban cigars could be sold in America, I think that it would make a huge impact right off the bat because everybody would want to try a Cuban cigar, right? Cuba does not have the capability, as far as I know, to come anywhere close to supplying the number of cigars that they could sell here if that was to happen. No. But the impact, I think, after that short, however long it lasted, after that time where people, okay, now it's not necessarily a new thing. Now it's not necessary. You can go down to your local place and get a Cuban cigar for $100 or $200 or whatever it is.
Right.
After that, I think the major impact would be with blending. I would love to see, some of these New World blenders be able to blend with Cuban cigars, especially somebody who knows Cuban tobacco. Yes. Somebody like
Pete Johnson,
my father, right? Pepin. Yeah. Somebody like Pepin who knows Cuban tobacco and knows Cuban cigars, to be able to blend some actual Cuban tobacco with Nicaraguan tobacco or whatever they were working with. I would pay a lot of money to try one of those cigars. And I think that if the embargo ended, I think that would be your major impact on the world of cigars, is that you would have all of these different blends that now you just never existed before, for the most part, that you could now buy and you could now try. It would be a major thing in the cigar world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and I would like to see what some of these blenders could do with it. Nick Syris comes to mind because that's where he cut his teeth and learned how to blend, was in Cuba. Pete Johnson, I think, would have some interesting blends using Cuban tobacco, as well as any number of other blenders out there. But those are just two names that come off the top of my head. Pepin, like you said. Guys, do anybody on the call have any questions for Brooks? You know, we could talk about Cuban cigars. We could talk about New World cigars. I mean, how often do you guys get an opportunity to pick the brain of someone from Half Wheel?
Well, I liked your question you had earlier, but I was hoping that you would talk more about the event. What was the difference? You know, you've been there going there for a decade. Has the event changed that much? I mean, as the people that are going to the event, are they pretty much the same people? I mean, when they put on that event, are they, you know, did it used to be more extravagant than it is now due to economic issues? Or, you know, I mean, I see the humidors they're auctioning off, or, you know, like last year's was massive, and, you know, this year's was beautiful. And you know, are they doing different things?
For the most part, for the 10 years that I've been going, the events have been very, very similar. And I think they do that on purpose for the most part, because you know what you're going to get. You know, they're in different places sometimes, and they have different, you know, acts and different, that kind of thing. But I think that they really want it to be a very something that's very familiar to you. You know what you're going to get. You're paying your money. You're going to get this certain thing, kind of situation. I have heard that in the beginning, when the festival first started, it was a much smaller affair and didn't have the pomp and circumstances much. But I wasn't there, so I can't tell you that for sure. There are very few differences between the past, let's call it, 8 years, 10 years, from what I've seen. They're very, very similar to each other. There's more humidors, now than there used to be. That they go up for auction. The humidors are a little bit more intricate and that kind of thing. But for the most part, and they go for a lot more money. That's certainly one of the major differences. But for the most part, it's pretty standard. You're gonna walk in here, you're gonna see all these humidors, you're gonna get some cigars, you're gonna get a cutter or something. For the first time they gave us this year, interestingly enough, they usually give you at these dinners, they usually give you like a cutter and a lighter with the cigars. For the first time this time, they gave us a cigar humidifier. Checker. You check your humidity in your cigar. I've never seen that before, and so that was certainly something that they decided, I guess, to play with, as opposed to just giving you another cutter.
Was it Cigar Medic? Was it?
No, it was another one. I forget which one. I gave it to Charlie because he reviewed the Medic one, so I gave it to him to look at. So I forget which one it is.
It's interesting. The humidors this year did not, and there were more of them this year. There were 10 in total that were auctioned off, and the price they fetched was less than what they got last year.
In total, yes.
Yeah, in total. Were you shocked by that? Because there were more humidors. I
was, yeah. Especially with 2 Cohiba humidors, I certainly expected I expected quite a bit more money. Now the Cohiba, the Bahique humidor did go for €1,000 more than the last one, which was the record. So it's a brand new record in terms of the the most expensive humidor to ever go up for auction. But it was only 1,000. I believe it was €1,000 more. And certainly I expected, with 2 Cohiba humidors, I expected more, and it didn't pull in as much as I expected, for sure.
Well, and if you expected more, I can only imagine the Habanos SA expected more. And again, all of the proceeds from that auction go to the Cuban healthcare system.
Yes, that's
what they say.
What did that Trinidad go for last year? You remember?
I don't, but I can look it up.
That one came with cigars too, right?
Well, they all come with
big.
Yeah. No, they definitely all come with cigars. It's definitely they fetch a pretty good price, and they're beautiful humidors. I suppose if I had unlimited funds, I might put a bit in. But
I would. If I had unlimited funds, I'd absolutely buy one.
Yeah, like they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Anybody else have any questions for Brooks before maybe we talk about something other than Cuban cigars? Anybody? Bueller?
I have a question for him, but it's not about Cuban cigars. So
go ahead. No, go ahead, Shauna. Ask away. Ask
real quick. The Trinidad 55th from last year sold for $4,120 $4,120,000. I'm sorry, $4,120,000.
Wow.
Holy fuck buckets.
Jesus. Yeah. Thanks, Shauna.
Yeah.
That's the reaction I was looking for. Go ahead.
Do you know?
Wait, hold on.
What the president smokes?
Oh, what the president of Cuba smokes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do not.
No. I don't think he doesn't do interviews there. He doesn't do interviews anywhere, does he?
Not with me.
No, not with a whole lot of people.
I just didn't know if you were able to see him and what he preferred or anything like that.
No, I don't. No,
Well, he was
I
there,
don't.
right?
I don't make any effort to get very close to him. That's not really why I'm there. I mean, I photographed him last year. I think when he was there, I photographed him just real quick because he was walking by or something.
Have you guys done it? Has anybody from Halfwheel done an interview with Habanos SA?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay. When was the last time you guys sat down with Habanos SA and did an interview? Do you know?
I sat down with them 2 years ago, maybe, but it was as part of a. I was with Tim at the time, and I wasn't necessarily doing the interview myself. I was there to photograph and do other things. So I wasn't necessarily. I asked a question or two, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything, that was formal.
Yeah, no, I think that was the same year that Nick did the interview, and then like he got 5-10 minutes in, and they were like, "This is over." Like, thank you. Like Nick's like, "I'm not even through all my questions." Like, it's okay, it's done. Go ahead, Shauna. What was your question for Brooks from Halfwheel?
How many cigar companies are out of Texas?
How many brands?
Yeah. Because there were 6 of them. I found 6
Who
of them
knows?
today.
Nobody. If
Hey,
Brooks
shut
can
up.
answer
I
this
fucking-
accurately,
shut
I'll be
up.
shocked.
You
Nobody
asked if I had a
knows.
question. It's cigar related. Shut up.
That is the.
I don't know. I could name a few of them off the top of my head. You've got Definition. You've got
You got Southern Draw,
Southern Draw. Yeah.
and there was like
McAuliffe.
4 others that were. I didn't know they were. I mean, they're not
Roma
all
Craft.
made here, but they're
Roma.
like
Yeah.
6
Good call.
companies. I
Roma
think.
Craft. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So there's like 4 right there.
Who are the other 2 that you named?
McAuliffe and Romacraft.
Nope, there were. I'll have to take pictures. I'll have to go back to that store and take pictures of the other ones they had.
Okay.
They had like 6 of them there.
Why are you suddenly so interested in cigar manufacturers out of Texas?
Because Texas is my favorite state.
Okay. Thanks.
I live in Iowa. I love
Good
fucking
call.
Texas.
Yeah. Hey, whatever. Now, I'm sure Brooks would agree with you. He lives in Texas. Texas is beautiful. I love Texas too, but I don't know if it's my favorite.
I was born here, but I wasn't raised here. So
No, if you didn't grow
I
up in
wasn't
Texas,
born
Brooks,
here. I wasn't raised here. I just visit all the time.
Yeah.
I love this state.
where were you raised, Brooks? If you weren't raised in Texas, where did you call home as a child?
I was a military brat. My dad was military, so I moved around quite a bit. Moved
Nice.
in different countries, different states. Lived in Panama, Germany, Japan.
Oh shit! Was it fun, or was like being a military brat like everything?
Oh no, it was horrible at the time.
What? Looking back though, were you like, man, I got it? Like it was a great experience.
I mean, there's not many people that can say that they learned how to snow ski in the Swiss Alps and water ski in the Panama Canal. So
yeah, no, for sure. Anybody else? Brian, I thought you had a question.
No, I just, it's the Cuban, the Cubans, Havana Festival, I think is an interesting mark, maybe a benchmark. Do you think that other ones are going to try to make festivals like that? To that degree, the videos that we saw, the what is that black tie affair that was there that night that we saw the video in the earlier, do you think other venues are going to try to match that?
I think that it would be very difficult. The thing with Habanos is that this is it's mostly, not all 100%, but it's mostly distributors and stores, LCDH stores, owners and that kind of thing. It would be difficult. It's a pretty big event. I haven't been to any of the other festivals, so I can't tell you, how it compares or anything of that nature. But the first time I went, I was very surprised at how large it was. I was ignorant, of course, at the time, But it's nothing like, you know, we were talking about PCA. You know, I expected this fair to be like PCA. Then the trade fair is almost a secondary thing when it comes to the festival. The festival is built around the idea of, you know, releasing new product and having all the distributors there and having a place for everybody to come and smoke cigars, and having the seminar. They have a huge seminars, you know, lots of seminars and things to, you know, pairing stuff and that kind of thing. It's a very large event that has a lot of moving parts, and it would be very difficult, I think, for somebody to even come close to doing something like that. It's a 5-day event.
Okay. I just didn't know, you know, Nicaragua being the new, you know, birthplace of Cuba, they say, you know, I didn't know if they would try to do something like that, or.
I don't know. But my impression from the other festivals is that it's a smaller affair, and it's really more intimate, as opposed to this massive party with 3,000 people, you know, at the final event.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
What events, Brooks, do you go to throughout the year in the U.S.? Like, even if it's just you don't, even personally, you don't go to events.
No, you know, if there's something here at one of the local stores every once in a while, if somebody stops by, I'll go to it. But I don't tend to go to, you know, we go to PCA. Charlie goes to Intertabac every year. I've gone to TPE a couple of years, but it's not something that I normally go to. Usually Patrick and Charlie go to TPE. I have a family, and I have, you know, things that I do here, and it's not. I don't need to go to events to hang out with. That sounds bad.
Yep,
I know exactly what you mean, though. Right? You don't have to. You're so ingrained in the cigar culture in the United States and around the world, honestly, because again, you guys are the cigar blog of record. Your words, not mine. I would call you just the cigar news site of record. You're so ingrained in it that going to an event, it's almost comical. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it as, like, there's no need for you to go. Right.
Well, I don't think anybody really knows who I am, to be honest with you. I mean, this is the only interview thing that I've done all year.
Really? No one else has invited you on their show.
I doubt anybody knows who I am, to be honest.
Everyone knows who you are. When they say Charlie, they go Charlie and Brooks. Like, that's who they talk about. Like, the two of you together. Like, Half Wheel is both of you. It's not just
it's all three of us. I mean, Patrick does an enormous amount of work on the site and is integral to the site itself. But I don't, you know, I had a business. I was a documentary wedding photographer, and we were fairly successful at that at the time. And I don't feel a need to be, you know, famous or anything of that nature. It's not really in my nature to do that. I just want to do my job and do it well and go home, to be honest with you.
That's fair. I mean, you would look at it as it's your job. Like, so that's how you would look at this. I look at this. Yeah, it's kind of my job, but it's just, I have fun doing it. And
certainly. And there's fun parts about it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to remember that this is a full-time job for us. It has been for the last 10 years now. This is a full-time job. It's not something that we screw around with. It's something that we take very, very seriously. And so it's not something that we can just, you know, decide not to do one day or whatever. There's deadlines. There's ways of doing things. And it's a very different feeling, I think, than most people with websites, or it's certainly my first website, Smoking Stogie, you know, a long time ago. You know, I was just basically posting whenever I felt like it and doing that kind of thing. This is not like that at all. We have a very set schedule. We have things that we have to get done. And, you know, we're paid by advertisers and I mean, advertisers, you know, pay advertising for the site. Yep. And sometimes they have, you know, certain things that we have to do, like videos or something of that nature that have to be done And it's not something that we can just blow off just because we don't want to do it. That's not the way that it works.
Right. We just started taking advertising last July, and it's been a game changer for us, but it's also been a wake up call because now it's a job. And as much as I want to wake up some days and go, I don't want to do this. I can't, you're right. Because these people have paid money for me to, use my golden voice to as I hack up a lung. It's just different when it's a job.
Right. And for us, I think for us, for Charlie and Patrick and I, all of us, I think we feel like it's a calling for us. We have a responsibility to do this. We have set this up, the site as the way that it is, and we have responsibility to continue on at the same level. If at some point we can't do that at the same level, then we'll have to have a discussion on whether we continue or not. But for the moment, we're able to do it, and we feel very strongly that it's something that we are capable of doing, and that we are very good at doing it, and we really want to continue. And that means that we have to do things at the same level, I guess. Lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I get old, Yeah,
you and me both. 50s next year, and I'm not looking forward to it.
50s in 3 weeks for me.
Oh, right before the trade show, huh?
That's right.
Oh, well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. We'll have to smoke a cigar at the trade show if you've got time. But
Indeed.
like you said, you are always busy. You helped us out last year at the trade show a couple of times. You were very generous with your time, but you didn't have a lot of it to give. You're always so focused on work when you're there because, like you said, it is a job. I just wonder, with a family, I know it's hard for me to go to the trade show for 4 or 5 days, or go to Kentucky for a couple of days, or go to wherever for a few days. Is it hard on your family as well? Like when you leave for, a week to go to Cuba, are they like, ugh, you got to do this again? Or are they pretty understanding because, you're putting food on the table?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, my wife makes more than I do. We've been doing it so long at this point that it has become not rote necessarily, but it's certainly expected. It's hard every time you leave. There was a time when the wife and I, we've been together since we were 15, and there was a time when we weren't apart for more than about 12 hours for like 7 years, and we were. It's certainly. It's certainly difficult to go in a place like this and not be able to contact them like in Cuba necessarily. But I think that if it's only a few times a year, that it's something that we can get through pretty easily. But being able to go out and to every event here in Dallas or something like that, I can't do it. It's not. I have other responsibilities to do, and as long as I get my work done, that's actually that actually pays the bills. If somebody was here and I had to go, then obviously I would. But in terms of just going to hang out and smoke cigars, I can't do that anymore. I used to be able to, but I just can't do that anymore.
Right. How many cigars do you smoke a week now, Brooks? I know when I asked Charlie this when he was on the show at the end of 23, I asked him how many cigars he smoked a day, and he's like, "I'll smoke 1 or 2 a week, maybe." Like I was shocked by that because I'm a degenerate, and I'll smoke 3, 4, 5 a day. What do you typically like smoke in a day? Or are you
talking about just for reviews? Or are you talking about on top of reviews, or
on top of reviews? Just like your daily. Let's say you don't have to do a review that day. You're not smoking something for a review, and it's like it's Brooks' day. Like let's say it's your birthday. How many cigars are you smoking?
I probably smoke 5 cigars a year that I don't smoke for review.
That's it. Wow. Is it because that it just keeps your palate cleaner for the reviews, or is it like a job thing, or is it just?
I don't smoke at home. And so if I'm not smoking at home, then if I'm smoking here at the office, I'm smoking for reviews. Our review schedule is we have to smoke 3 cigars for every review. And so we're doing 2.5 reviews, give or take 2.5 reviews a week. So pretty much every day I'm smoking a cigar for a review. and that's just the way it works out. There was a year in Cuba when I went to Cuba. There was a year that I only smoked one cigar when I was in Cuba. This year I really tried to do more, so I smoked probably 7 cigars, maybe 8. But it's not something that, I do think that there's something about the palate thing. I really want to be able to keep the palate as fresh as possible. And while I don't think necessarily that smoking 10 cigars a day, destroys your palate, I think that the way that I'm doing it is probably the better way to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't disagree, but like I said, I'm a degenerate. And
we're all different people.
Enjoy smoking?
I'm sorry?
Do you enjoy it? Because like the way you're talking about it, it just sounds like you only do it because it's your job and you could really care less if you ever did it again.
It's not necessarily that, but I will tell you, as I think we said last year, I'll tell you the same thing. There is no easier way to destroy the love of something than to make it your job.
Yep.
My husband just told me that.
I enjoy smoking cigars. I always have, or I wouldn't be doing it, to be honest with you. I've never had a real job. I've never had a boss in my life. I've always worked for myself. So I could easily, I imagine, go and do something else if I wanted to. But I'm proud of what we've built. And I enjoy smoking cigars, but you have to understand that it's a different situation when you have a review. You've got to smoke 3 cigars, let's say, and you've got a 7x80 cigar that you have to smoke, and you smoke the cigar, and it takes 3.5 hours, and then you realize, okay, I got to smoke 2 more of these in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then you don't have time to smoke any that you want to smoke.
Correct.
So then you're only smoking because it's your job. So does that mean that it took all the fun out of it for you?
I think that the fun, if you think about it as a linear concept, I think that I find I get a lot of enjoyment out of smoking different cigars. Okay. And I don't smoke the same cigar every day at all. Never. I never will, probably at this point. I enjoy smoking different cigars and trying different cigars. And so I get a lot of enjoyment out of doing that part of my job.
Okay.
Where I get to smoke different cigars. Sometimes you get really good ones, and sometimes some that are not as good to me personally, perhaps. Right. But I enjoy the idea of smoking different cigars every single day, or almost every day. So that's part of what I enjoy about the job. I've become used to the idea of not necessarily smoking outside of my job for the most part. There are people who review cigars who smoke 3 cigars, 4 cigars a day, and more power to them. But for me, when I go home, I don't necessarily smoke unless I have to for some reason. I don't smoke at home. The wife is a recovering cigarette smoker, and I have to take other things into account with in that regard as well. And so for me, when I'm at the office, I'm smoking. We don't smoke in our offices. We have a lounge. This is a smoking lounge here. So we don't smoke in our offices. So the only time we smoke is when we come into the lounge, and that's just the way it is. If I smoked in my office, yeah, sure, I'd smoke more. Absolutely, 100% I would. Okay. But when we come into the smoking lounge, we are specifically here to smoke and to review. Right. We built it that way specifically so that we wouldn't have as many distractions necessarily as trying to just smoke while we're watching TV or whatever it is that we're doing.
Okay.
That's what I do every day.
Again, we take the idea of reviewing cigars very, very seriously. This is not just I figure, yeah, this is a 92 wood cigar. Yeah, it sounds good. Everything that we have in terms of reviews is built around the idea of knowing exactly what we're scoring something and how we're doing it, and that it's something that we can justify if somebody were to come to us and say, how did you how did you come up with a score? Well, I can tell you how I came up with a score. I take photographs of all the problems if there are issues. I take photographs. It's a job for us, and so we want to make sure that everything is done, correctly, right, and above board.
I wasn't questioning that. My question was past the job. Was that it doesn't seem like you enjoy smoking anymore past the job because you put so much effort into the job that the fun of it past the job is no longer there.
And that's exactly, I would say that that's absolutely correct. I enjoy smoking cigars. I love the idea of smoking cigars, and I love the process of smoking cigars. But there is no quicker way to ruin a love of something than making it your full-time job.
Yep. Yep. I can't tell you, Brooks, how many times in the course of a week I wake up and I'm like, why do I do this? Why? Why have I chosen this?
My husband just told me.
Yeah. Brooks, let me ask you this. We'll get you out of here. We're running short on time here. We're almost done. And again, I appreciate you coming on and spending a couple hours with us tonight live.
Happy to help.
If you could give advice to, I don't know, Simply Stogies or any of the other podcast media, people in the media sphere, the cigar media industry, if you will, to give advice to them, like what changes would you tell them to make? What advice would you give them to get better, to succeed, to like, what would you like to see in the industry?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question. Look, if I was running Half Wheel, it would have failed a long time ago. I'm not a businessman, and I never have been. The businesses that I've succeeded at have succeeded in spite of me and not because of me. But I will tell you this, working with Charlie and Patrick have taught me that the most important thing, one of the most important things, is that you stay true to yourself and who you want to be and what you're trying to do. If you have an idea on what you're trying to accomplish, you need to work every day to actually accomplish that goal. And everything that you do should be in trying to put that idea forward so that you can actually accomplish it. And stay true to yourself, stay true to your goals, and eventually people will find you, presumably.
Hopefully, maybe. I pray every day. Theoretically. Brooks Whittington, halfwheel.com. If you're not reading halfwheel.com every day and staying up to date on what's going on in the industry, like, what are you doing with your life? Are you really a cigar smoker? I question that. I want to thank Brooks for spending a couple hours with us. I really do appreciate it, sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. We love having you on. We'll have you on again before the end of the year. I promise. I think we're going to try to get Charlie on before the trade show, and we'll have a special episode out for that. So guys,
he's a perfect guy to have on for that.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I really want to kind of pick his brain on what themes he thinks he's going to see and kind of what's been going on in the industry and what he's looking forward to from the trade show. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you at the trade show. I'm looking forward to seeing Charlie at the trade show. Looking forward to seeing Lou at the trade show. Lou Cross, thanks for joining us, my friend. Down there, just hanging out with that bonfire behind him. I'm surprised. I don't understand how the house hasn't caught on fire yet. But I appreciate you joining. Brian Bolin, Shauna Bolin, I appreciate you guys joining as well. Gasticles, thank you so much. Tim, I know you had some technical issues tonight with the mic. He's giving us the big thumbs up, which means he might still be having technical issues with the mic. And again, I want to thank Brooks Whittington, halfwheel.com. Guys, go to halfwheel.com and read his articles. They're fantastic articles about Festival del Habano. Read his reviews. They're great reviews. They do great reviews there. Halfwheel is the cigar news site of record. Go check it out if you haven't. Join us tomorrow, actually, where we have our Clear the Air, our after show, where we talk about Risty from JSK. He was the latest guest. And then join us next Saturday. I promised you guys we had a big guest coming on. We absolutely do. Next Saturday, the 15th, Michael Knowles, Mayflower Cigars, dailywire.com. We sit down with him for an hour and a half, and we have a great conversation. We talk a little politics. We talk a lot of cigars. We talk a lot of Mayflower. I thought it was a fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, of course, Clear the Air the week after that, where we talk about Michael behind his back and put it out for everyone to listen to. And then, of course, at the beginning of April, we've got Vance Taylor from the brand new Stoic Cigars. He'll be joining us. And that's our run up to the PCA. Hopefully, we'll have Charlie on before that. But, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for this 2-hour discussion on Festival del Habano. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I learned a lot. And until next time, friends, stay smoky.